All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a long break. Welcome back to the 700 Pelham Road podcast. I'm Caleb with Jalen once again, and we are back and hopefully back for good. How's it going, man?
It's going great. We took some time off, holidays, spending time with the fam. And then, of course, after the holidays, just trying to get reacclimated with work and having a routine. And, now the sky is falling out. So we're having fun.
Yeah, we are fully out here. So the hope is that we will be able to continue to record weekly throughout the rest of the athletic calendar. Um, Obviously, there will be some weeks here and there where we're not able to, but hopefully we'll be able to get an episode in every week. So we got a lot to cover since we've been gone for almost a month.
Yeah.
So I guess we better get into it and talk about football. It was a great year.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
great year.
First year in the FBS. And some things kind of didn't bounce our way. But you really can't ask for much more than a 9-win season and then capping it off with a insane come from behind win, for a bowl game. Whenever we're technically not eligible for bowl games, so we got in on a technicality. And we were the first school to ever win it in their first year in the FBS.
Yep.
So to win a bowl game, year one, grateful to even have the opportunity, but to win it, just icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I think the coolest part is, you and I were actually talking before I hit record a few minutes ago. We were talking about just how close we were from going from 9-4 to maybe 12-1, or even 13, or even like 13-1 with a conference championship. Well, never mind. We wouldn't have got the conference USA would not have let us play in it, but still, my point stands. Like, we were really close to a one-loss season in our first year. So, hey, the sky is bright, and we just got. As of today, we just picked up a pretty solid QB transfer from UConn. After both of our QB commits fell through within a matter of like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that was something.
I don't have any nice words for that.
Yeah, sitting there and watching, JC leave, that was one thing, because from what I heard, the head coach that is now at James Madison was recruiting him hard when he was at Holy Cross. So I understand. The kid just wanted to play FBS ball. And, since, one of the first head coaches that was going after him moved up, I understand. The Zevi situation, I don't know what went on there, but for him to verbally commit and then out of nowhere, we look at Twitter and he has signed with what was it, Washington State? Or Washington, one of the two. That one really threw me for a loop, and I was just like, okay, it is what it is. We'll find our guy. And after looking at some of the highlights of this guy that just signed, I'm perfectly okay with it. Dude looks like he can ball.
Yeah, and that was kind of the big thing that we were looking for all offseason was a QB to come in and compete with Logan and with Ashton Fry, and even potentially with Tayshawn. So So getting that veteran experience addition to come compete, I think it'll be good. It makes me really excited for the end of February when spring ball starts, because you'll really get a chance to maybe see what we've got at QB and have multiple quarterbacks that'll have the offense under their belt from the beginning of spring all the way into the season.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Rich Rod's offense, and even going back to when he was at Louisiana Monroe, he has always had a deep quarterback room. I think I remember at his press conference when he got to JSU, I think he said he had like 8 or maybe 9 quarterbacks on the depth chart at ULM. So he's always known for having a deep QB room and having a lot of competition. That's why it wasn't a surprise, to a lot of people that there was no true, number one starter last season, because a lot of people that know him and how he runs his offense, it's really, who has the hot hand in practice that week and, who the offense feels the most comfortable with at that time. So, yeah, I honestly think, having more people to choose from is actually, in our case, more beneficial than it is hurtful.
Yeah. Going into last year, we kind of knew that Zion and Logan were going to be 1A and 1B, and we really weren't sure which order it come out in. But, knowing that Zion is gone, he's exhausted his eligibility, and knowing that Logan has a full year with the offense under his belt, he can really kind of set in and learn it without having to try and learn it on the fly in the middle of a game. I have a lot of hope for our offense this year. I'm not saying we're going to go, like Liberty and lead the conference in yards, but I would not be shocked to see us back up where even, we were, with Eli Jenkins, kind of in that 450, 500 yard range every game and just constantly putting up points.
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing is we have multiple quarterbacks this year who will be around for, spring and summer. Whereas, like you said, Logan had to jump in the game late last year. So he had to learn the playbook on the fly. And for people who don't know, Rich Rod has a very intricate playbook. One play call can have 3 or 4 different options. And that's just one play call. So for him, to come in the summer and not really have as much time as, say, Zion or some of the other quarterbacks had, and now he has that time. Fry has been there, Smoot has been there. I'm not sure when the guy who just committed is hitting campus, but we got a lot of guys who have been in the system for 2 years now. Some others now 1. And I'm honestly just ready to see, now that, Rich Rod has pretty much kind of cemented himself and settled in, year 3 is where, we can really take off and do some damage.
Yeah. And, the beauty of it now is not only are we, set up to have a big year 3 of the Rich Rod era, but now we're eligible for everything. Right?
Yeah, our stats actually count this year.
And, I'm just throwing it out there. The playoff expands to 12 this year. And I'm not going to say that we're about to go make the playoff, but if we manage to go undefeated, beat Louisville, win Conference USA, odds are we will be right there for that top-ranked G5 spot that gets in.
Yeah. So we will definitely be knocking on the door.
So just don't get your hopes up, because obviously it's tough schedule and football's crazy. But don't be shocked if around week 10 or 11 we're still in the conversation for with James Madison and with Liberty for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who the one conference opponent is that we're not playing this year, because for people who don't know, before Kennesaw State was joining, it was set up for it to just be a simple, home one year, away next year against the same opponent, and then, vice versa, and just keep going back and forth. Now that Kennesaw State is in the mix, there is, unless they decide to expand, conference play, which I think I don't think they are because I think non-con's already set. There's one conference opponent that we won't play next year. And then the year after that, when Delaware joins, there will be 2 that we won't play. So there'll be a rotation. So I'm curious to see who the one that we don't play is next year. If CUSA is smart, they're going to leave Liberty on our schedule, and they'll make sure Kennesaw State is on our schedule.
Yep.
Because no matter if that game is in Kennesaw or in Jacksonville, it's going to sell out. Those two should definitely be on there. But I'm curious to see how exactly our schedule fills out. And I'm not sure of the date when CUSA drops, but I'm assuming we'll have it before we hit spring.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Kennesaw. You mentioned it, and you're right. It'll sell out regardless of where it's played. But we'll finally have a true rival again on our schedule. I would imagine that Kennesaw is – I imagine they'll find a way to make it a permanent opponent. Once there are enough teams to do permanent opponents. And obviously Delaware joining will help with that. But, it'll just feel good to kind of have that rivalry again. Because, obviously this year we didn't really have a rivalry.
We had the Gravy Bowl.
I will not have that shoved down my throat. This season, I will be a menace on the Twitter account the first time I see the words Gravy Bowl. Oh man, but no, I mean, I'm excited. New conference for some of these teams, and definitely getting Kennesaw back on schedule. It's going to be like the old days, but with a lot more at stake.
Oh yeah, because now, at least for us, we're playing for bowl eligibility. Every win matters, trying to get the best bowl possible. And everybody's like, we should want as many conference mates to make a bowl as possible. I'm like, yeah, they can make one so we can have the money. I'm not rooting for them in the bowl game. I won't root against them, but you're not going to catch me rooting for Kennesaw State ever.
Not once in any sport.
They can make the bowl game so we get more money, but that's about all I care about.
Yeah, if they go 6-6 every year and get beat by 40 in a bowl game, I'm happy with it.
Fine with me, totally fine with me. But this season, I know you're good. This season has honestly been a lot of fun, especially that bowl game. For those of you that don't know, we were there. And if you follow the Twitter page, you will see that we got press passes. We were up in the press box. We were on the field both before the game and after the game. We went to the press conference both for Louisiana Lafayette and for JSU. Those are pretty cool. I might try and find a couple of cool snippets to post on the page here and there. But yeah, that was a truly, truly fun game. New Orleans is a great city as always. And for those of you that weren't there, the football team got to stay another night, and let's just say we saw them having a great time on Bourbon Street afterwards. Oh, those guys truly were living it up.
Oh man, yeah, we saw them getting down with it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
but
but hey, they deserved it after that win.
Yeah,
they deserved it. It was insane.
But man, I'll tell you what, having gone to South Carolina, like 3 weeks earlier. Like it hadn't even been that long. It was like a month. About a little over a month.
Yeah.
between South Carolina and New Orleans, but we made both big road trips this year. Not just as far as the podcast goes, but with the Twitter account. We were able to represent the university officially, at two different away games, and it was a really cool experience. You mentioned the press passes. I would have never imagined a year ago, like when I left school back in 2022, you could have never convinced me that I would be in the press box for a bowl game, for JSU's first ever bowl game. But here we are now. Did we get scolded a little bit after Zion dotted up Lafayette for that last touchdown? Yeah.
Right.
We might have gotten scolded a little bit for accidentally cheering, getting a little bit lost in the moment, but still, it was an unreal experience. And, you mentioned the press conferences at the end of the game. Not just getting to sit in and listen to the guys talk, but getting to ask. Like, I got to ask, Rich Rodriguez a question about his offensive philosophy, and I'm like, you can't beat that very often.
100%.
Jalen had to hold me back from asking a question to the Lafayette's head coach.
Dog, obviously that was a very tough way to lose when you have 3 defensive touchdowns. But y'all, that man looked like he was ready to just go on a rampage and kill anybody that stepped in his path. It was not pretty in the slightest. And then there was some, I don't know if he was a radio host or if he was just a reporter or what. Dude decided to ask him if in hindsight he would have called overtime differently or something. I can't remember what he said.
That was the gist.
And the Louisiana head coach was just like, well, in hindsight, we don't give up a touchdown at the end of the game and we win before even having to go into overtime. But I guess you can't always, get it the way you want now, can you? And then he pretty much just got up and left.
I'm telling you.
It was something.
It was wild. But
then of course Rich Rod came in there and he was like, "Why is it so quiet?" and made sure that he did not look at the stat sheet.
Yeah, man. But it was an awesome experience. Obviously, next year New Orleans is probably out of the cards for us because
it's like 99.9%.
But depending on the location, depending on what happens with other conferences, we could end up in like 9 different games.
Yeah, so
we could be from Texas to the Bahamas to Charlotte.
Yeah. For everybody that doesn't know how bowl games work, they typically don't like to have the same team repeat in the same bowl game. That's why we say New Orleans is off the table. Our other conference tie-ins would be Bahamas, Hawaii, New Mexico, and I think that's it for the actual immediate tie-ins.
I think you're right.
But if our conference has more than 4 bowl eligible teams, there's 5 or 6 that we're secondarily tied to. I think one of those is in Dallas or Houston or Austin, somewhere in Texas. I know one of them is up in Detroit. We're very loosely tied to Birmingham. I think Montgomery is a more solid backup.
Just don't let it be.
So we can. Yeah, please no. Because 1, that is but a day trip for us, and then 2, there's nothing to do anywhere around. I'm fine with Birmingham.
Birmingham's great.
There's so much in Birmingham. For those of y'all that don't know, Montgomery is just a wasteland. And their saving grace is the Crampton Bowl.
that city is the District 12 of Alabama.
Basically.
Well, let's just call it what it is. I mean, there's nothing there.
It is packed with history, but they kind of just coast on the history and don't really pump anything into the town itself.
Yeah.
History and the state capital, that's about it.
And Alabama State's shiny football stadium.
So if you want to go shake Meemaw Ivy's hand and go learn about the civil rights movement, cool, but that's about it.
That is about it.
Yeah, so let's hope for something fun, but close enough to where it's feasible. I would love to go to Hawaii, and I'm sure we could get some press passes, but we got to pay for more than just a game ticket.
I was about to say.
And plane tickets they have a comma when you're talking about Hawaii. So yeah, I don't know about that one.
Digit sneaks in real quick.
Yeah, there's a comma that comes into play when you're talking about Hawaii, and we haven't even, scraped a hotel room. So yeah, Hawaii it can get pretty expensive. And plus, that's one that you would just want to go all out and actually make it a vacation, not just fly in, watch the game, come back.
Yeah, you'd want to be there for like a week, which means now all of a sudden your hotel's like almost $2,000. Not worth it.
Yeah. You at that point you might as well find a travel agent to try and knock some dollars off. Bahamas is a little bit more feasible. Plane tickets aren't as much. Hotels are definitely a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yep.
But I would love to stay, continental U.S. and keep the drive within 6 hours. Because if it's Texas, I don't know if I'm driving. That might be a flight.
Yeah. Unless it's like they put a stadium like on the Arkansas-Texas line. That's about it. That's about as far as I'll drive.
Yeah, because, even whenever we went to Frisco in 2015, not counting stops, I think it's like a 12-hour drive from Jacksonville. And we did that just straight shot. We stopped. I know we had like a stop at the Mississippi state line, and then we had a stop at like a Walmart somewhere, and then we didn't stop again until we got into Dallas. We stopped at the mall, but that is a drive.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with like Detroit. The only thing is I probably definitely would want to fly that because with it being in December, you never know when snow could sneak up. And I ain't trying to do all that driving in the snow and junk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. We got to get to 6 wins before we even worry about, bowl game.
Yeah.
And again, schedule next year is not a walk in the park. I know we have Coastal coming to town. Let me see. I had it pulled up. Yeah, we got Coastal coming to town week 0. We're going to Louisville September 7th. And then we're going to Eastern Michigan the next week. And then we got Southern Miss coming to town the week after that. So, opening up the season, those 4 games, not necessarily the most challenging games you've ever played. Louisville will be a pretty good competition. They will definitely put up more of a fight than South Carolina did. But, we got some pretty tough games. We were able to handle Eastern Michigan last year. We got to try and get back against Coastal. And then we get to see Southern Miss for the first half of a home and home. So we got some – it's not going to be a breezy schedule, but I definitely think 12-0 is possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, who knows what Louisville's going to look like? And like you said, the conference slate when it's announced, outside of having to go to Liberty, should be pretty favorable. I mean, we've proven, look at New Mexico State. They lost their quarterback, they lost their coach, they lost their offensive coordinator. They all went to Vanderbilt. So New Mexico State, I don't mean this the wrong way, is probably about to fall off a little bit. I mean, realistically, we should go into the season as the second best team in the conference. I don't see a reason.
Yeah, I expect to see the preseason polls have us at number 2. Because, like you said, New Mexico State is losing a lot.
Yep.
And even if they don't fall off, I don't think a lot of people are going to expect them to just bounce right back and be number 2 again. And Western Kentucky kind of had a very iffy year to where they could be the number 2, but I see them probably putting Western Kentucky at either 3 or 4. That'll be a toss-up with New Mexico State.
Yep.
They'll leave Liberty at 1 because, Chadwell's coming back. Now, they have lost a lot of key pieces to the portal, but that system is just, the system's in place. It's almost like a plug-and-play at this point. So I think they'll keep Liberty at 1 until, Liberty loses that spot. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting looking at next year. We should be the second best team. And hopefully, we go play at Liberty and then hopefully we win, work some magic and then have the conference championship rematch in Jacksonville versus Liberty. That would be something.
That would be, brother, let me tell you something.
Especially in the new stadium.
I was about to say new stadium with the new away side, field box finished, and we get a conference championship, that place would be packed out.
Oh, yeah. So, obviously not getting our hopes up, but it's just pretty. It would be amazing. Yeah,
that would be awesome. All right, well, I guess we need to move on to bowling.
Yeah, everybody, you heard us right. We are talking about bowling.
Because surprise, surprise, in year 1 ever of the program, we arguably have the best bowling team in the country.
Not arguably. It's set in stone at this point. They have played in 4 tournaments. They were runner-up in the first, and they have won the last 3. They have won 3 of the 4, and they were in the finals for the one they did not win. And then on top of that, Crystal Elliott, one of the bowling team members, she was selected for Team USA 2024. That is insane, and we just get to add it to the long list of, WTF moments that we have as far as athletes that have gone to this school. We have a green jacket. We have a couple of NFL players. We've had a couple of MLB. I don't think we've had anybody in the NBA, but now we can add 2024 Team USA bowling member. And on top of that, from what I heard, our coach is the head coach for Team USA bowling too. So yeah.
Yeah. And I pulled up the what is it? I pulled up the power rankings for women's bowling. So we have the highest winning percentage of any. Well, sorry, the second highest winning percentage of any program in the country, and what appears to be the highest opponent winning percentage. So we have not only one of the best records, but we tend to play the strongest schedule as well.
Oh yeah, because being in the finals, we've gone up against Vanderbilt, I think, in every tournament. Which for people who are new to this and haven't really been following it, I'm kind of new. Vanderbilt is one of the top teams in the country. We've gone up against Nebraska a couple of times. They're pretty, tough as far as women's bowling goes. It's it's pretty insane what they're doing. And if you look at the actual scores of each game, most of these games are not close.
No.
And some of these matches, it's a sweep. Like we're beating them 4-0 or 3-0, whatever. I can't remember if it's best of 7 or best of 5. But we're beating them 3-0, 4-0. They've only gone to a game 7 like a handful of times. They
Yeah.
are handily taking care of business. And y'all can say whatever you want. It's just bowling. I can tell you right now, I can't bowl for crap.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
So, hats off to them for not only doing it, but having to do it consistently. And when they go to these tournaments, they're going up against the best of the best, other people that are competing for, Olympic spots and, Team USA spots. Some of which may already be on the team or have already gotten a spot, as is the case with us. So, I mean, it's not easy whenever you get, to this point. And hats off to those women. They are, taking care of business, going crazy. I know coming into the season, they were ranked preseason ranking in the top 10. I think it was like 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think so.
That's long gone. Now they're looking at, taking home everything. They're looking at taking home whatever their championship is, their tournament is, for the end of the season. So yeah, it's been cool to keep up with that new addition to JSU. JSU Athletics and JSU Sports. Big shout out to Greg Seitz for doing whatever he did to, pull some strings and get that coach.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was looking at the roster. I think we have 10 ladies on the roster. I think 7 of them came with her from her last school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hats off to Greg Seitz for getting that to fall the way he did. That man has Jack State athletics set up for years to come.
He is simply the GOAT.
Oh yeah, because I mean, if any of these coaches were to leave or retire, the way he has athletics as a whole set up, and a lot of these individual teams and programs set up, coaches will be ready to come in and try and elevate even more. I mean, you look at softball. That is a spot where when it opens, I would not be surprised to see people, jumping at the bit trying to get there. Baseball's a pretty solid spot. I mean, you see, we've got an SEC. We have a former SEC coach in that spot. Basketball, especially now that we've gotten some really good recruits and really good transfers.
Yep.
If Harper would ever leave, or whenever he inevitably leaves, I'm sure somebody will be ready to take that spot. And football, of course, the way Rizrod has come in and just taken us to an insane level of success.
Yeah.
That is it. Greg Seitz has just done a great job of making the university a very attractive landing spot, along with, not hesitating to upgrade all of the facilities. Football is getting a new, like weight room and locker room and all that. The stadium's getting upgraded. Softball just got a new stadium a little bit ago. Baseball, they keep making updates and upgrades. The Pete looks amazing. One of the better G5 basketball stadiums and arenas. Because I'm telling you, I've seen a couple of pictures and videos of some of these other G5 schools.
Mm-hmm.
And some G5 schools that have been FBS for a good little bit. And it's rough. They look like they're playing in a high school basketball gym. So, yeah, I mean, he's just done a great job of making it a very attractive landing spot. Dude is crazy. Like I said, I just got hats off to him.
It's crazy though, because we look at the hires he's made, and and all the moves he's made when it comes to facilities, and they're not things that, especially you look at the football facilities and the football moves that we've made under Coach Gross. It never felt like there was ever going to be any momentum with stadium upgrades, right? There was never any momentum on potentially a new field house or anything like that. Like it always was rumored like, oh yeah, we might expand the stadium one day, but there was never any momentum, and part of it was because the program as a whole didn't have a lot of momentum. But now, Rich Rod comes in, he's like, hey, I've coached in Michigan, I've coached in Arizona, I've coached at West Virginia, I've nearly made it to a BCS championship game. Here's what it takes to win, and you're not doing it, so let's do it. And Greg Seitz, being the legend that he is, he opened up the checkbook and said, what do we need to do?
Yeah, I don't think people realize stuff like the stadium and the football facilities matter when it comes to recruiting. Guys want to see that you have state-of-the-art everything. They want to see that you're up to date and, well, you don't have this, but this other university that is on the same playing field as you, they have this, and this, and more.
Yep.
Why should I come here when I feel like if I go there, I'm, better set up for success? So, like, all of these things matter, which in turn make our football team better, which in turn brings more money to the university. Like, I get it. A lot of people are, especially, students are upset when there's so much effort put into athletics, especially football. But there is a trickle-down effect that a lot of people can't see. Because also when your football team is better, admissions go up.
Yep.
People want to go to a school that's good and is nationally known. So it's a trickle-down effect. But yeah, it's just great to see all of these things finally coming to fruition. Not to mention, the Performing Arts Center they're starting to actually, get all of that stuff underway and trying to get that complete. The second dining hall, there's a whole new dorm that's going up. The one that was supposed to be attached to the stadium, but is now separate. They still built that.
Yep.
If y'all don't know, that thing is basically done. I think they're planning on having students in there in the fall. Dining hall is supposed to be done in the fall too. Football facility is supposed to be done in the fall. They are getting a lot of stuff done, just trying to make the university as a whole more attractive. And I love it. We're finally in a good spot going upward. The town is finally starting to. I think their hand was kind of forced, but they're starting to embrace that it's a college town, and maybe we should cater a little bit so that the money doesn't go to the two cities on either end.
But
yeah, I mean, overall, it's a great time to be a Jack State Gamecock.
It really is. And it's a great time to be a proud alumni because you come back and you have things to be proud of instead of saying, oh yeah, that's the same campus I was on 25 years ago. It always feels like there's things improving and making you want to come back. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we got one more sport to talk about.
Yeah. Basketball.
And surprisingly enough, they've given us some good things to talk about the last, month or so.
It got off to a very rough start, but that was expected when I think we had 10 new players on the team. You got a lot of rotations you have to get through because people say you can figure all that out in practice. Practice is not gameplay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that you just need gameplay and you need film to see, and you need to see it in action. So we had a lot of rotations. We had a lot of guys we had to throw out there, especially in non-con play. There was just a lot of experimenting and adjusting and seeing what works, what doesn't work. But I mean, we hit conference play, and we got off to a 2-0 start against FIU and Liberty, both of which are pretty solid teams. Now, we kind of had a little road bump with Western Kentucky, but again, this conference is really deep when it comes to basketball, especially, mid-majors.
Yep.
We're going to get some losses, maybe some where we should have won, maybe some where we just didn't have a chance. But, 2-1 to start conference play after, seeing a couple of the road bumps we were hitting at the beginning is very encouraging.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm looking at the schedule now. So, we started off the Utah Tech loss. There ain't much to say about that. But then we played West Virginia. We played UNA, not a great team. But then we played Incarnate Word. We started out 1-4, and we're 9-4 since. And the 3 losses since then are to Wisconsin. I'm not sure who that is. Illinois, Chicago, and then ETSU. So, we've played some decent teams in non-con and learned a little bit about ourselves, figured out the rotations, obviously figured out that Kai Tandy is one of the best guards in the conference, and to get him the ball at all costs. But
oh yeah, that man is insane.
We've been around JC basketball a long time, going on 8-9 years now. He's the best guard that we have had since I've been at school.
I think so. I think same for me too. I've been here since 2015. I didn't really follow JC basketball in 16. I really picked it up in 17. But as far as a complete ball player, scoring, handling, playmaking, getting everybody involved, I don't think we've seen a guard like that. I really don't. And we've had some pretty electric guards at this school.
Yeah, you look at obviously, you look at Eric Durham on the first tournament team, who I think led the OVC in 3-point percentage that year. You look at Ty Hudson was a really good player. Marlon Hunter, great player. Mid-range god. I don't think I ever saw him miss a mid-range jumper.
Oh, no, that man was automatic from the midi.
That man was Sean Livingston 2.0. You look at, Jamal. I can't remember his last name. But he was electric. He had that ESPN top 10 dunk in Evansville when he jumped over someone. But, yeah, we've had a lot of electric guards before. And it seems like Kai just kind of has the best of all of it. He's got the scoring, but he can do it off the bounce, right? He can shoot, but he also can put it on, he can take it to the rim. So, it's clear that he's the go-to guy. And there's some guys around him that can play. Mason Nicholson, the big man down low, probably the biggest player that we have had on roster since I've been at school.
Dude is a beast.
I think he's 6'11", 270.
Let me see, because I just know dude is a beast.
I remember watching the Brescia game and thinking
he's 6'10", 280.
6'10", 280, yeah. I remember watching the Brescia game and thinking, yeah, this guy's a little bit bigger than everyone else around him. But
I'm really looking forward to the season.
Yeah.
Coming up, we got Louisiana Tech, another strong team in the conference. That's a home game this Saturday. I love that even before this season, we have had a pretty strong contingency of fans that will actually show up, even if it was for no other reason than they had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
They still showed up, and whenever the fans get going, that can be a pretty loud stadium, especially between hardcore, the students sitting all over the place because there really is no defined student section. But between hardcore, the students going crazy, and just the general atmosphere, if it's, a high intensity game, it's one of the most fun places to be in Jacksonville on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night. I love that
really
people
is.
show up, and students obviously get in free. They get into every athletic event free, and even if you have to pay for a ticket, they are not that expensive for what you're getting.
Yeah, they're like what, 10, $15, I think, at the most.
That's something like that. Now, obviously, this year you don't get as much of a value because you don't have your double headers of men and women,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks. I hope people are still showing up for the women's games. So yeah, you don't get your value as much, but still, it's more than worth it. It's from start to finish, a night at the Pete is super fun, and you definitely will not be bored.
No. And we've had plenty of nights at the Pete in our time, so we can tell you from experience. When there's a big game, especially on Saturday night, that place is rocking. I mean, I think about Murray State in 2019 when John Morant came to town, and we
packed that place out,
packed it out, and then beat them by about 30. I really think about the Belmont games back in the day when we pack it out, and those games were intense. So and
I'm hoping people understand that with this conference, especially. Well, one, they showed up for the Liberty game the last time they came to town, but I'm hoping it's not just Liberty they show up for. I hope they understand that like this conference is packed with amazing teams, and we just got to show up and support the guys and support the women too. I just really hate that we're not doing double headers. If y'all didn't know, CUSA pretty much does inverted scheduling for men and women's basketball. They usually play the same opponent, but like let's say if we're playing Liberty at home, the women are playing Liberty in Virginia.
Which kind of blows.
I don't understand why. I saw somebody explaining it. I can't remember why they said it was the way it is. But yeah, that's why you're not seeing double headers, which kind of sucks because, like I said, people didn't necessarily show up for the women's game with the same numbers they did for the men. But it being a double header and you only having to pay for one ticket, there were a lot of people that would show up for the women's game and just kind of, hang around for the men's game, and it helped keep up the crowd numbers for them. So I hope people are still going to the women's game. You 100% should. Those ladies are insane. I'm actually going to go pull up their stuff now. They got off to a rough start this season, just like the men. But I mean, if y'all didn't watch the Liberty game, that night we put out the Flames big time.
Oh,
the men won by like 10, the women won by like 15, and I think one of the women hit like 5 threes in the fourth quarter alone.
I think so.
They were going crazy. They can also be super fun to watch. We've had a lot of really crazy women that have played for JSU basketball, and when they get going, it's just really fun to watch them just go at it. And they really feed off of hardcore and the students that sit right next to hardcore because, like I said, the attendance for women's game is a lot lower, but hardcore is there. And usually the students right next to them, at least the ones that are like hardcore, JSU athletic fans, they will be there for the women's game and the men's game. So they really feed off of that. So, I mean, y'all show up, support them. They need it just as much as the men do. And hopefully we can get both of these teams to Huntsville and go pretty far.
That's the hope, man. And, the cool thing about having a conference tournament, 2 hours from me, an hour and a half from you is, it doesn't feel like we're having to, kill our time just to go to the tournament. Now it feels like, just grab a hotel and drive up there for a couple of days, and that's that.
Yeah. Or if absolutely need be, it can be a day trip.
Yeah.
And it won't feel like it's a hassle to go up there, spend the night, and have to turn around. It's not a journey like it was for Evansville.
Yeah.
Or even with the ASUN where it was conference site or host site. Yeah, having it in Huntsville for us is a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It would be very easy, and like I said, hopefully they go, and not only go, hopefully that they stay, and let's get 2 tickets to the big dance.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. But all right. Well, I don't know if I have much else to talk about. What about you?
I think I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm about to have to try to get some sleep before work tomorrow. But anyways, this episode, if you're listening to it, it should be Friday morning. I'm going to have it scheduled for Friday morning. So if you're listening to it, happy weekend. And we will see you guys again next weekend. And we'll really start to dive into basketball season a lot more. So from 700 Pelham Road Podcast, we are signing off.
See you.